Hi guys, Josh here, and Farmagia, the new adventure monster collecting and farming game from Marvelous, just released this November 1st for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and Steam. I've been playing the Switch version for over 15 hours now, and in this video I'll be sharing with you my first impressions, what I like and dislike, and there are some things you should know because this game is certainly not for everyone. Thanks to Marvelous USA for sending me a review key so I could check out the game early. Leave a like and subscribe for more farming sim related content, and let's get started. So first, let's get the story out of the way, as for me that was one thing that definitely got in the way while I was playing. You're in Felicidad, an underworld composed of 5 continents, all filled with monsters, humans, and everyone is living in harmony until the death of the leader, who is replaced by this guy, Glaza. And then this girl, Nares, declares that Glaza wants a dictatorship, and she starts a rebellion against him. So as the main protagonist, Ten, along with other friends, you will be joining her and try to bring peace and unity back to Felicidad. The premise of the story is interesting, there are lots of characters, and part of me wants to follow along and see what's gonna happen next, but most of it is being told through this kind of visual novel style, where you have a still background, character portraits, and a lot of text. This is just a personal preference, but I have a hard time with this format. I had a similar experience with another game called Elrantro's Wanderings, where I wanted to keep up with the story, and I did for the first few hours, but eventually I started skipping cutscenes in order to get to the gameplay. All of the story-related dialogue is voiced over, and you can choose between English or Japanese voices, so that is amazing, but I found that the ratio of story to gameplay was a bit high. For example, you will do a dungeon for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then have 5 to 10 minutes of story to go through, and even with voiceover I found that it was a bit much, and I would have probably enjoyed it more if there were less dialogue, or if things were a bit more engaging visually. So I don't think the story is bad necessarily, but there is just a lot of it, which can be either a good or a bad thing, depending on your preference. Outside of the story, most of your time in Farmagia will be spent in mazes. Before going in, you will have to prepare your formation by picking 4 groups of monsters, your team leader, each leader has their own skill, and you can also change things like united forms and fusion bodies, which will determine some of the special attacks you will have. You then go into the maze, and at first, the game introduces you to a lot of mechanics very quickly, and it can be overwhelming. There is a lot going on the screen, tons of monsters, different bars, gauges, words like Unite Blitz, Unite Counter, Perfect Guard, Legion, Fusion. And for the first hour or two, I kind of knew what I was doing, but I was also a bit confused with certain things, and I died a few times during boss battles. But my advice if you play this game is don't worry if you don't understand everything right away. The tutorials could have been paced or done a little bit better, but after playing for a little while, the game is actually not too complicated. A good thing too is that the tutorials can be accessed at any time from the menus in the compendium, where you'll also get access to all of your data on monsters, characters, and the world. So I found myself going back to them after having gained a bit of experience, and it helped a lot. To explain the combat very simply, just to give you an idea, it goes like this. So each enemy has an icon above their head showing you which of your monsters they're weak to. So you just press the button that matches your monsters and it will send them towards the enemy. And by the way, you can hold the button so you don't have to mash it 20 times like I did for the first 10 hours of playing. Over time, your monsters also have these gauges that fill up and let you do stronger attacks, and those are also used to counter unblockable attacks from enemies. That is something you have to be very careful about, but as long as you guard and counter at the right time, you won't take damage, and despite the chaos on the screen, it is a relatively mindless, relaxing game, a bit like Dynasty Warriors. At least so far, and I've been playing on normal, but there are also easy and hard modes for you to adjust the difficulty to your liking. So the dungeons in this game are called mazes, but let's be real, they're more like rooms. You start in one room, defeat all of the monsters, and then you can choose from different portals that will bring you to the next room. Some rooms will have more chests, others will have fairy skills, which are temporary power-ups just for that run. Other rooms will have stronger monsters and better rewards, and after a few rooms, you will get to the boss. I was hoping for a bit of dungeon crawling, exploration, even something simple like in Silent Hope or Elrantro's Wanderings, where you maybe have a few treasures or secrets to find, but it's really just one simple square-shaped room to the next. The environments will vary a bit visually depending on what continent the maze you're currently doing is on, but they're all pretty much squares of grass surrounded by trees. That being said, there's always so much happening that you barely notice the environments. I love the UI, all the numbers on the screens, the monster designs, the animations, the colors, But the best part is that no matter how chaotic it gets, it runs flawlessly on the Nintendo Switch. When you get out of a maze that is not really a maze, your FP gets replenished, which is your energy used for farming. On your farm, you can grow battle buddies, those are the monsters that join you in combat, as well as research buddies who will give you materials and research points. The controls for the farming remind me a bit of Harvestella, so you hold the left trigger and then choose your tool using the stick or D-pad. Well, some of these tools are actually monsters, but you have a hoe, then monsters for watering, removing weeds, and removing obstacles like rocks and wooden logs. At the bottom of the screen is a hotbar with your seeds and fertilizer, you plant them, and it's all pretty straightforward. As you harvest research buddies, you can unlock more things in the research tree. Upgrade your tools so they cover a wider area and larger fields, unlock new types of monsters, variations of existing monsters to grow using fertilizers, or even agri buddies who will automate some of your farming by watering or fertilizing their surroundings, for example. One little complaint I have with the farm is that no matter what you do, it always looks so messy. You can make your fields larger, but I wish some of the areas were separated with fences or paths, even if you can't decorate them yourself, as that would make things look more organized. Overall, the farming works well, but for me the most fun part is just trying to grow all of the different monsters and to progress in the research tree. I love that grind of completing everything, but that being said, so far, I didn't really feel the need to use a lot of what I've been unlocking. For example, each monster has slightly different effects or stats, but I've been doing perfectly fine just using the same ones all the time. So I collect them for the sake of collecting them more than actually using them, but maybe that is something that will change later in game. Speaking of, based on the in-game achievements and my progress so far, it seems like I'm about halfway through the story, so I estimate it should take me about 25 to 30 hours to finish it, and more if I want to complete and collect everything there is. Other than that, there's also a ranch where you get to train your battle buddies, and the ranch is really just a menu where you give them food, which increases their stats, but the more you train them, the more tired your monsters get, and the smaller their increase in stats become. So in between trainings, you also need to give them treats in order to bring their mood back up. This is a bit tedious, to be honest. Most of the food and treats are really easy to get, so it's not challenging, but you're always alternating between food and treats. You can skip the training cutscenes, but not the ones where they eat treats, and it's just very time-consuming and not that fun. I feel like they could have gotten rid of the treats altogether, or maybe they could have made something more engaging like a minigame where your performance would dictate the stat increase, but that is not what they did. I was not expecting much of that training mechanic. Based on the trailers and everything, they always made it seem very simple, but I still would have loved to have just a bit more. I did see a few things that I was not expecting, however, so I was going into this game ready for farming, training, combat, and repeat, but there is some more. Keep in mind, all of these are just menus, but there is a shop where you can craft, buy, and sell. It has some problems, however, so far I've not had to sell anything, as I've been making a lot of money simply by doing the mazes, and I also never had an issue buying or crafting any of the food, treats, and so on. I am making a lot more than I need to spend, and I wish there was some difficulty there because it feels a bit useless when you can get anything without really having to work for it. Once again, maybe that will change in the late game, but it definitely could have been better balanced in my opinion. There is also a tavern where you can get quests. That is something I like, but it's also not perfect. Sometimes you will have to clear a maze using specific monsters, other times you will have to slay a certain enemy like 10 times, or harvest 10 of a specific monster on your farm. So they give you things to do outside of the main story and a reason to redo some of the mazes. But because the economy is too easy, I don't really care for most of the rewards, and I end up doing the quests just for the feeling of completing them. Lastly, there is a bit of a romance aspect to Farmagia. Throughout your adventure, you will meet these elemental spirits who will provide you with fusion bodies, these special attacks to use in battles, and the deeper your relationship with the spirit is, the better these fusion bodies will be. In order to deepen your relationship, you can craft presents in the shop. Once again, they're all very easy to craft, and you have to find which spirit will like which gift based on their personality, and you can then also do side quests for the spirits similar to the ones in the tavern. As you get closer, your character will go on dates with the spirits. It is still in that visual novel style, so personally it's hard for me to get attached to them, and I just don't care too much. But if you are someone who likes dating sims and visual novels, maybe you will enjoy that part. Still, somehow, I like doing the quest and making my fusion buddies stronger, and that is kind of my overall feeling with Farmagia. Even though I cannot get into the story, and a lot of the mechanics like the shop, the quest, and the training are a bit shallow, I am still having a good time. Once you understand how the combat works, it's pretty relaxing in the same way Dynasty Warriors is. It looks chaotic, but it's quite simple and repetitive. Sometimes you need a game like that where you just grind and progress mindlessly, and Farmagia is good for those times. So if you go in with that mindset, I think you can have fun, and also if you're someone who likes a lot of dialogue, that's a plus. But if not, you can also do like me and skip them. I would have loved if there was some kind of exploration or something to the mazes to make them a bit more engaging or unique, but other than that, Farmagia is kind of what I expected. I will keep playing it. It's fun, it's simple, it runs well on the Switch, but is it my favorite game of the year? No, it's not. Now, I would love to know what you think. Have you played Farmagia? Are you enjoying it? Are you disappointed? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more Farmagia to get a better idea of the gameplay, I will be streaming it on November 1st here on YouTube, so feel free to check that out. Leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video.